So let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Okay, so what did we see in the previous class?
We finished chapter 15. Sorry.
Yes, we finished chapter 15. What's the title of 15?
The Yoga of the Supreme Person.
The Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottam Yoga. So what did we see in this previous class?
How we saw about this, no? The fire, how the fire, like the Krishna is the fire. Krishna is the fire represents the digestive energy, which obviously it's the digestive energy which is in every living entity. So that fire is nothing but Krishna's Krishna's manifestation.
Yes.
And then why important is the sunlight or the sun?
Yes.
Or we saw that why the sun, the moon, and the fire, how important are they? But they even though there is a night and day here, there is night and day in the Vaikuntha or Gauloka Tambiyan in the but still there is always light, like even though we have sun, moon there also, but we don't need them there. Yes. Right?
Exactly. Yes. We saw that the spiritual planets are illuminated. They are self-illuminated.
Self-illuminated.
So there is no need of the sun. Yes. Very nice. Correct. What else did we see?
And we saw these three important, I don't recollect these three, the three important words which were, can you help?
Words or verses? Three verses, 16, 17, 18, we saw are the three Shloki Gita, we call them.
Three Shloki Gita. Yeah, yes. Three Shloki Gita. And how are they? How is that expressed in Sanskrit words? We had three Shloki Gita.
Three Shloki Gita. Yes, three Shloki Gita only in Sanskrit also. Three Shloki. Okay. So this is called Three Shloki Gita because the entire essence of the Vedas is there in these three shlokas. What is the essence? First of all, Krishna says that there are two classes of beings, fallible and the infallible. In the material world, everybody is fallible. In the spiritual world, everybody is infallible. He says above the fallible and the infallible, there is the greatest living entity, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord himself. And then he goes on to say that that Supreme Soul, that imperishable Lord, that is him, that is Krishna himself. So Krishna is establishing himself as the Purushottam. So if we know this, that Krishna is Purushottam, that he is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it means that we know all the Vedas, but because beyond the Vedas, there is nothing more left. Beyond Krishna, there is nothing more left to be known. That's what Krishna says here, no? He says that one who knows me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. So if we can understand that Krishna is Purushottam, then we know all the Vedas. And then Krishna goes on to say that this is the most confidential part. Which is the most confidential part of all Vedic scriptures? The fact that he is Purushottam. And the fact that one who knows him as Purushottam engages in devotional service. So if one knows this, then this is the most confidential part. And one who knows this attains wisdom and also perfection. This is how Krishna has ended the chapter.
Chapter 15.
Okay. So finally, he established himself as Purushottam and he's also the Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Anyway, so this chapter began because this is, we have to see the correct connection between chapter 15 and chapter 16. This chapter began with Krishna describing material existence with the analogy of a inverted banyan tree. So when we saw this inverted banyan tree analogy, we saw how there are branches, and the upper branches of this inverted tree represents the mode of goodness. And one who's in the upper branches of this inverted tree of material existence, he is closer to attaining the spiritual realm because he's just there, right?
Ascending.
Yeah.
They are ascending.
Yeah. And the others who are deep down in the lower branches, they are in the lower modes of material nature, the modes of passion and ignorance. Now, what is the connection between chapter 15 and chapter 16 is Krishna, now he describes the qualities of people who are in the higher branches. So people who are in the higher, the entities who are in the higher branches, they are in the mode of goodness. So they have divine natures. And those who are in the lower branches, they are more demoniac. So they have demoniac natures. So what are the qualities of the divine and what are the qualities or nature of the person who is demoniac is what Krishna is going to explain in chapter number 16. So what is it that we have to understand is we have to develop the divine qualities as much as possible. And if we feel that we have any of those demoniac natures, then we have to minimize them so that we can go to these higher branches and we can be well situated to cross the material world and go to the spiritual realm. So all these qualities, actually in here, verses 1 to 3, Krishna is going to describe the divine qualities, which we will be seeing today. And these, any rules and regulations in the Shastra or when we discuss nature's qualities, it's not for us to analyze somebody else. Is the other person demoniac or does he have such a divine quality? No, it is for us to analyze our own selves and be able to progress. Okay, all the rules and regulations are not to be applied to somebody else. It is for us. What somebody else does in his spiritual life, of course, is between him, his spiritual master, and Krishna. We can try to help the person, we can try to guide the person, we can preach to the person as much as possible, but we should not develop the attitude of pointing fingers and saying, see, Shastra says that a divine person is fearless, but this person is always so fearful. No, it's not like that. So we should understand that these qualities are for us to apply to ourselves so that we can go higher on the tree of material existence and then ultimately cross over and go to the spiritual realm. Okay.
Mataji, but we all are Satchit Ananda. So everybody has that qualitative qualitatively same opulences as Krishna, right? Qualitatively, some part. Okay. So why do we have demoniac nature? Since we
Yeah,
are Satchit Ananda, so we only have to like tap that and enhance there because it's already there. So why we have demoniac like nature if we are Satchit Ananda?
yeah. So Satchitananda is the qualitative nature of the soul. Why we have demoniac natures is because now that we are conditioned, we are in this material world. We are conditioned living entities, and we have come into the material existence, and our contact with the material existence contaminates us, contaminates our consciousness. So we develop demoniac natures. We have forgotten our original nature.
By that you mean Maya, right?
By what?
By material nature. It means by
Yeah, material
being
nature, Maya Devi, she is the fortress of this material world. And our contact, see, the soul is pure, but now we have come into contact with material energy. So our consciousness gets contaminated. So we have to undergo some purification.
okay.
But
Thank you.
when the soul is born also, then it will get contaminated, right? Oh, sorry, when the soul is always there. Sorry, let me frame it again. So when the okay, when the soul attains a particular body, it is still in the uncontaminated mode, right? Because it's in the womb. It's not still in contact with Maya. Then when it gets okay, when it gets born, then how the like it it will get contaminated with Maya, but it's still fresh, right? It's children are innocent, but still they have these demoniac nature,
Yeah.
even though like, so why is that?
Yeah.
Even during their early infancy ages too, like we have seen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can see children also. Some children are very divine in nature, and some children are very demoniac in nature itself. The children
Correct.
itself. So
Mhm.
we attain this divine or demoniac nature. The moment we come in touch with material energy, the contamination takes place. So the child who is in the womb of the mother is not coming with a zero slate, because the child has not come into contact with material energy at that time. He has gone through so many lifetimes in the past, isn't it?
Correct. So there are impressions of the past lifetimes
Yeah,
also. It's
yes,
the account of the. Mhm.
exactly.
Okay.
Because he, remember, he's carrying the subtle body from so many lifetimes.
Correct.
The subtle
Mhm.
body is still there. So the moment we come in touch with material nature, the contamination is there. And when we come first time, then we have the body of Lord Brahma.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so this chapter, the divine and demoniac natures, chapter number 16, is another shorter chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It has only 24 shlokas. But before we begin this chapter, we need to understand what benefit do we get by reading, reciting, learning, hearing this particular chapter. So these are stories from the Gita Mahatmya, and Lord Shiva is narrating this history to Goddess Parvati. So Lord Shiva says that in Gujarat, in a town called Saurashtra, Saurashtra is modern day with city. Can you say?
Ahmedabad?
No.
No? Gujarat?
Saurashtra, Surat.
Surat.
Okay.
Ah,
Yes.
okay, okay.
So in Gujarat, in a town called Saurashtra, modern day Surat, there was a king called Khadga Bahu. And Khadga Bahu lived a very opulent life, just like another Lord Indra on this planet. So he had a very passionate male elephant called Ari Mardana. And from the temples of Ari Mardana, liquid would ooze out because he was very, very proud. Out of pride, the description given is that liquid would ooze out of his temples. And one day, in a fit of anger, this elephant broke loose from his chains and he started to chase the people. And everybody was running as fast as they could to avoid him, but still, many of them got trampled below his feet. Now, the elephant keepers, they immediately went and reported this to the king. Now, because the king is the leader of the kingdom, whatever happens in the kingdom, the king is responsible for it. So these elephant keepers, they go to the king and they narrate what has happened. And the king, along with his son, he goes to the spot where the elephant was running crazy. And he saw that many people had been trampled by this mad elephant. Just then, he saw a Brahmana peacefully returning from a lake after his bath, and he was silently reciting the first three shlokas of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, before the king could do anything, this Brahmana started to walk straight towards the elephant. And people told him, "Do not go near the elephant. This elephant has gone crazy. You may lose your life." But this Brahmana was completely fearless and he started to walk towards Arimardana. And then he goes to him and he starts to stroke him. The elephant immediately lost all his anger and he lay down peacefully. Now, everybody has witnessed what has just happened, including the king. So the king approaches the Brahmana and he asks him, "What austerities have you performed to attain such peacefulness?" So the Brahmana says that every day I recite some shlokas of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now the king requests the Brahmana, "Please come with me to the palace." So the Brahmana goes with the king to the palace and the king gives him 100 gold coins in charity and he requests him to teach him those verses from the 16th chapter of the Gita. So now the king has learned these verses and he also starts to chant those verses for some time. And then one day he went again, the king again goes to the place where the mad elephant was there and he ordered that the elephant be released. So citizens were actually very upset that the king wanted the elephant to be released because they thought that the elephant may again may run amok again and trample down citizens. But anyway, it was the instruction of the king. So the elephant was set free. The king went to the elephant and the elephant immediately lay down and the king also, the elephant lay down when the king was stroking him. So after that, now the king returns to the palace. He installs his son as the king and left for the forest where he worshipped the Lord every day by chanting shlokas from the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And quickly he attained the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So we need to read this. Who can read today?
We both
Heck,
can read, Mataji.
Yeah. I can
okay,
read the translation.
okay, fine.
I can read the other text.
Okay,
Yes.
so please read this.
Falashruti. Anyone who chants the 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, however sinful he is, very quickly attains the same goal as King Kadgabahu, the lotus feet of Krishna,
So
of Lord Krishna.
this is the Falashruti of chapter number 16. Let's see the connection between the two chapters.
Chapter 15 describes the banyan tree of the material world. The modes of the material nature nourish both the upper, auspicious, divine branches of the tree and the lower, demoniac branches. Extra roots of the banyan tree were also compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious and some inauspicious. Chapter 16 explains the divine qualities that elevate one on the tree and leads ultimately to liberation. Chapter 16 also explains the demoniac qualities and the mentality which drives one lower on the tree and ultimately to hell. Connection between chapter 15 and chapter 16. In the 15th chapter, Krishna introduces the metaphor of upside down tree for representing material existence and describes the process of breaking free from that tree, that is, gaining liberation. Implicitly, continuing that tree metaphor in the 16th chapter, he describes qualities of people at the two extremes of the tree. He first explains the divine qualities that elevate one on the tree and enable progress on the path of liberation, versus 1 to verse 2-3. And then the demoniac qualities and mentality which drives one lower on the tree and ultimately to hell. Verse 4 to 21. Not only do the demoniac become increasingly entangled, they also spread disorder, disaster, and distress in the world, thus making it hellish by their exploitative actions. When Krishna outlines the demonic mentality from verse 11 to 13, it strikingly resembles Duryodhana's mentality. Constant scheming for wealth, eagerness to kill rivals, devilish pride in the success of one's murderous schemes. Through these descriptions, Krishna indirectly reminds Arjuna of the importance of his divine nature and his Kshatriya duty therein, both of which require him to protect the world from such demonic rulers. Giving Krishna's purpose of activating the protector within Arjuna, he describes the horrors of the demonic nature over 18 verses from 4 to 22 after summarizing the divine nature in just 3 verses from 1 to 3.
So only 3 shlokas Krishna uses to describe the divine qualities, and practically for most of the rest of the chapter, Krishna is describing the demoniac qualities. So this chapter is divided into 4 sections. We'll see how far we can go today. Let's read this.
Section 1 from 1 to verse 6. Transcendental and demoniac qualities. Krishna first describes the 26 divine qualities, then he mentions the 6 demoniac qualities.
So in the first 3 shlokas, Krishna is mentioning 26 divine qualities. Let's hear the Sanskrit shlokas. But before that, please repeat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
अथ षोडशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिर्ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आर्जवम् अहिंसा सत्यमक्रोधः त्यागः शान्तिरपैशुनम् दया भूतेष्वलोलुप्त्वम् मार्दवम् ह्रीरचापलम् तेजः क्षमा धृतिः शौचम् अद्रोहो नातिमानिता भवन्ति सम्पदम् दैवीम् अभिजातस्य भारत.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, 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 modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature.
So here Krishna has given us 26 qualities of a person who is divine. Now, of course, these qualities are for everyone, but certain qualities are meant more for a certain category of people. And this is in very detail explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Because our the original Vedic caste system is the Varnashram system, and we know that the society is not divided by birth, but according to one's nature of work and according to the stage of life one is in. So according to stage of life, the division is Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Brahmacharya is student life, Grihastha is married life, Vanaprastha is retired life, and Sannyasa is renounced life. The average age for a human being at the beginning of Kali Yuga was 100 years. So this four was divided into 25 years as a student, then 25 years as a Grihastha, then when one is 51 years old, then that is Vanaprastha, retired life. So in Vanaprastha, the person leaves home and he goes to the forest, but he can be still accompanied by his family. But then the last 25 years, sannyasa, there he is completely on his own. There is no family also, and he's completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna. So that is completely renounced life. See, the word 51 is ikyavan. And see the beauty of the language. When you're in the 51st year, ikyavan, the word one comes, which means it's time for you to leave the comforts of your house and go. That's why the word ikyavan and 51. And then the division according to one's work is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now, of course, in a perfect Varnashram system, as we have discussed before, all four ashramas and all four Varnas should be respected. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It's not that a Brahman, Kshatriya, or a Vaishya can insult a Shudra. Right? All four are equally important. And if we want to compare Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra to a human body, then Brahmanas are the head of the body, the Kshatriyas are the arms, Vaishya is the stomach, and Shudra are the legs. Now we want our legs as much as we want our arms, as much as we want our stomach, as much as we want our head. Nobody is going to say, it's okay if I don't have my legs, I can still, I'll be fine without my legs or without my hands, right? If we want our legs as much as we want our head. But having said that, from another angle of vision, another truth is also the fact that if we happen to lose our legs or our hands or even our stomach, we can still continue to live. But if we lose the head, then it means immediate death. So although all four have to be respected and nobody has the liberty to insult somebody else, at the same time, a Brahmana is most respected because he is the head of the society and he is spiritually most advanced. Because of his spiritual advancement, he is respected more than the others. And a sannyasi is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahman also, because it's the sannyasi who's on top of the institution. Let's read this text.
Varnashram dharma is the division of society into 4 divisions of social life and 4 occupational divisions. In this Varnashrama institution, the sannyasi is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi, who is on the top of the institution, is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also.
Okay, and this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is not based on birth. If one is born to Shudra parents, he can still elevate himself to the status of a Brahmana and go higher in that pyramid. We saw long back when we did this Varnashram system in detail in chapter 4, we saw a pyramid, right? The Brahmanas are on top of the pyramid. So even if one is born to Shudra parents, still one can elevate himself to the position of a Brahmana. And if one is born to Brahmana parents, it's not necessary that he is going to remain on top of the pyramid. If he does not perform activities like a Brahmana, and if he's going to perform sinful, abominable activities, then he is considered to be a Shudra. So we have to remember that this division of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is not according to birth, but it is according to one's activities. The Shudras are not interested in spiritual upliftment. The Shudras only know to receive an instruction and execute it. That's why they are the worker class of the society. The Vaishyas are the business community. That's why they are compared to the stomach, because what the stomach does, the stomach receives food stuff and then the energy is distributed to all parts of the body. So the Vaishya gets goods or merchandise moving in the market. So that's why Vaishya is compared to the stomach. Kshatriya, arms, because he protects the citizens from the attack of any um, anyone. Basically, he protects his citizens. And of course, the Brahmanas, they are the teachers. They impart education to the others. Okay, so some of these so why are we discussing Varnashram system here? Is because some of these transcendental qualities are specifically meant for some of these varnas or some of these ashramas more in particular than the others. But basically, they are for everyone else to follow. Now here we see this word abhijatasya, just what you were asking in the beginning. See, abhijatasya, Krishna says, one who is born of, so one can be born with these qualities. So we have to remember that how can he be born with these qualities? What is it that, what can parents do to make sure that the child that they are giving birth to is born with divine qualities, not demoniac qualities?
One
Prabhupada
has to
explained in
trap.
the purport.
That the Mataji you had explained, like you have to trap that particular soul who is in the mode of transcendental qualities. You have to trap at that time when you're conceiving that, and so you have to trap that kind of soul.
Exactly. Yes, we have to attract a good soul, a
Yeah, so
transcendental
not
soul.
trap but attract. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's read this from the purport.
The word jatsya in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as Garbhadhana Sanskara. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Purport 16, verse 1 to 3.
So as Srila Prabhupada explains, if one does the Garbhadhana Samskara, then the parents can attract a good soul in the womb of the mother. Because we are human beings, we have higher intelligence than the animals. At least we should not have children like cats and dogs. Cats and dogs, they mate when they feel like it, right? Anytime, any day, anywhere, it doesn't matter to them. But we cannot, we should not ideally do this. We should attract a good soul in our wombs. Okay. So what is the first transcendental quality that Krishna mentions?
Simplicity.
Before that? First
Humility.
ever quality.
Humble Mataji, humility.
No. See, let's read. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says, now he says, what's the first quality?
Fearlessness.
Fearlessness.
The first quality that Krishna mentions is fearlessness or abhayam. So what is this fearlessness? Let's try to understand first of all, what is this fearlessness? There is this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's read the translation and the purport.
Harlan, are you reading?
Yes. Before the factual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live were created by Brahma. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. Therefore, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death. Although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless, this false identification with material nature is the cause of false ownership of things which are offered by the arrangement of superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self realization in the conditioned life. But due to false identification, the conditioned soul becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord.
So see, Lord Brahma, before he created the bodies we know that there are 8,400,000 different kinds of species. So these are different bodies that are created so that the soul can get the kind of body that the soul desires and also what he deserves. So, but before he created those bodies, he has created some nascent engagements or uh, engagements out of ignorance. And out of that, one of that is forgetfulness of one's real identity. Now, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada explains that unless a living entity forgets his real identity, what is our real identity? That we are spirit souls. It is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. Therefore, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. So the first condition of material existence is that we have to forget that we are spirit souls, that we are eternally the servants of Krishna, that we are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. And what happens when we forget our real identity? Prabhupada explains, one is sure to be afraid of death, although the living soul is deathless. So this fear of death is what Krishna refers to as being fearless. So one with divine qualities, he doesn't fear death because he knows that he will be taken care of by the Lord. He knows that it is only the body that dies, and the soul is deathless. So fear originally means the fear of death. Let's read this.
Fear is one of the four factors of material existence. Everyone has fear because of contacting a material body. Fear is relative to how much dependence one has on the material energy rather than God or spiritual life. Fear comes from attachment and dependence on material conditions. Fear originally means fear of death. Actual fearlessness comes from taking shelter of Krishna, not otherwise. This is the meaning of Abhya. As the bhajan by Govinda Dasa Kaviraja goes, Bhajayu re mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhya Charana Vinda re. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which makes one fearless. This divine Bhagavad Gita 7.14, the translation, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
So fear originally means fear that, as we saw in this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first thing about material existence, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's identity. And when one forgets one's real identity, then he is afraid of death. Now, how can we overcome this fear of death? How can we become fearless? How can we become abhayam? That fearlessness can only come when we take the shelter of Krishna. So this is a very nice bhajan. You can also see it online. Bhaja Hure Mana Shri Nanda Nandana, Abhaya Charanara Vindare. So one can become fearless by worshipping the lotus feet of Shri Nanda Nandana, or the son of Nanda, who is none other than Krishna. And Abhay Charan is actually the name of Srila Prabhupada. His parents had given him the name Abhay Charan. Okay. And even in the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained how that this material nature, which is otherwise very difficult to overcome, can be easily overcome, can be easily crossed through by surrendering unto him. So the way to attain fearlessness is by taking the shelter of the lotus. So we should not misunderstand fearlessness with ignorance or recklessness. For example, if a child is playing with a live wire, he is not fearless. We cannot say that this child is fearless and he has this transcendental quality. No, the child is playing with a live wire because he's ignorant of the danger it brings with it. That's not the fearlessness that Krishna is talking about. Now, if somebody says that, oh, Krishna says that fearlessness is a divine quality, so what I'm going to do, I'm not afraid of death. I'm going to go on the slippery road, ride my bike at full speed, and I'm going to also perform acrobatics when I'm riding the bike. No, that is also not the kind of fearlessness that Krishna is talking about. That is only recklessness. Or somebody may say, oh yes, Krishna says that fearlessness is a divine quality, so whatever I want to say to people, I just tell it to them on their face. I'm not afraid of the consequences. I'm completely fearless. No, that is again, then it is being heartless, because a devotee also should not be insensitive. A devotee is very sensitive, and in his dealings also with others. Yes, it is important to speak the truth, and yes, the truth is bitter, but we don't have to say the truth in a bitter way. We can say it in a non-bitter way. We can say it in a different way if we want the well-being of the person. So let's not confuse, because these other things, like for example, somebody is just running on the railway tracks, facing the train and says that I'm fearless. No, that is not fearlessness. That is only brainlessness. We have to use our intelligence. We know that intelligence is higher than the mind. So in the name of fearlessness, let's not be brainless. We use our intelligence. We use our intelligence and we borrow intelligence from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Okay, so now next transcendental quality. Let's go back here. What is the next transcendental quality?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
No,
fearless.
No. We already did the
Trans-
translation. What is the next transcendental quality?
Sattva samashuddhi,
Yeah,
purification of existence.
exactly. Sattva samshuddhi, purification of one's existence. So we have some impurities because we have come in touch with material nature, and we have to get purified. How do we get purified? We get purified by getting rid of those impurities. Now, the conditioned soul has many impurities, but Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he focuses more on lust. We know that Krishna previously has said in chapter 3 that lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. And we saw how also it's described that lust forces the living entity to do things which the living entity does not want to do. Lust is so powerful, right? It forces us to do things that we don't want to do. So therefore, it's very, very important that we free ourselves from lust. How do we free ourselves from lust? By avoiding external and internal triggers. Now, what do we mean by external triggers? When we see something in a movie or on social media or in a public place, it can trigger lusty desires. So therefore, we have to avoid them. And also we have to avoid internal triggers. What can trigger us internally? What can trigger lust internally for us? When we remember and we recall something lusty, then it can internally trigger our lusty desires. So when we avoid these external and internal triggers, we are careful what we see and what we remember, what we recall, then we can purify our lusty desires. Now this talking about lusty desires, this is so important that actually there is an incident in the Chaitanya Leela. Let's read this incident to understand better.
One of his Mahaprabhu's associates, Junior Haridasa, committed a great mistake by lustfully glancing at a young woman. The Lord, as super soul, could detect this lust in the mind of Junior Haridasa, who was at once banished from the Lord's association and was never accepted again, even though the Lord was implored to excuse Haridasa for the mistake. Junior Haridasa afterwards committed suicide due to being disassociated from the company of the Lord, and the news of suicide was duly related to the Lord. Even at that time, the Lord was not forgetful of the offense, and he said that Haridasa had rightly met with the proper punishment. Srila Prabhupada.
So just imagine now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful incarnation. And he also was not willing to forgive Junior Haridas because he lustfully glanced at a young woman. The most munificent incarnation, the most merciful incarnation. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called as Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani. He is the crest jewel of all the avatars. So even he was not ready to forgive Junior Haridas because he lustfully glanced. Actually, Junior Haridas had taken sannyas. He was in the sannyas order when this incident happened. And then ultimately he committed suicide. And even then, the Lord said that he has met with his proper punishment. So that's how important it is for us to curb this all powerful, sinful enemy called lust. Let's read this.
Song name Parama Karuna Bahu Dui Jana. Official name Shri Gaura Nityananda Daya. The author of this song is Lokana Dasa Thakura. Parma Karuna Pahu Dui Jana Nityai Gaura Chandra Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. The two lords, Nityai Gaurachandra, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful.
So Parama Karuna means supremely merciful. Who is supremely merciful? Pahu Dvijana. Pahu means the Lords. Dvijana means there are two of them. So who are these two most merciful Lords? Nitai Gaurachandra, Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they are Sabatara Sara Shiromani. They are the crown jewel, crest jewel, the essence of all the incarnations that exist. They are the most merciful. Even they were not willing, not they, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in particular was not willing to forgive Chota Haridas. Now, with regard to this particular bhajan, there's a very interesting incident. This is definitely Srila Prabhupada's one of the shortest, if not the shortest. I was not able to confirm if this is the shortest. So definitely one of the shortest lectures that he has given, because when he started to explain this particular bhajan, he choked, he started to cry, and he was not able to continue speaking. And then he excused himself and he went to the room. And then word came in that in the evening he will be giving class and that everyone should learn this particular bhajan. So I just put it here. Let's read.
Atlanta, February 28, 1975. Arrival address, Atlanta, February 28, 1975. Prabhupada. So I am very glad to see you, and I am coming first of all, Mexico City. The devotee said, yes. Prabhupada said, so Mexico City, then Caracas, and then devotee said, Miami. Prabhupada, Miami. So I see your temple is the best. Devotees, Jaya, Hari Bol. Then Prabhupada said, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very kind. Parama Karuna, Pahu Dui Jana, two lords, Nityai Gaurachandra Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are very kind, you see. They have appeared just to reclaim the fallen souls of this age. So they are more kind than Krishna. Krishna, he is also very kind. He comes to deliver. But Krishna demands that first of all surrender. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even does not demand surrender. He's so kind. The voice choking. So take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be happy. Thank you very much. And then he weeps.
I have
Hari Bol. So I was telling students of slot 1 that it's good that they can bring in deities of Nitai Gaur in their homes and worship these deities because they are supremely merciful. Yes, it's very nice to worship deities of Sri Radha Krishna, but in the worship of Radha Krishna, there are many rules and regulations. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are even more merciful than Krishna, when we perform if we commit any mistake in the worship of the deities of Sri Sri Gaura Nitai, they do not take any offenses. They will only give blessing, only give mercy, and only give us their benedictions. So it's very nice if you can have deities, and if you can't bring deities, then at least have a picture of Sri Sri Gauranita in your house, and you can be unlimitedly blessed. Here also in our temple in ISKCON Chile and some other temples in the West, where the devotee community is not so big, and they cannot take care of deities of Sri Sri Radha Krishna for the same reason that I mentioned, then they install deities of Gauranitai. Because in the worship of Gauranitai, even if there are some mistakes, knowingly or unknowingly, then they don't take any offenses. But with the worship of deities of Radha Krishna, we have to be more careful. Okay, so let's go back to our...
Mataji, I think so. Mataji Shivani has a question.
Oh, yes, Shivani. Yes, Shivani?
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes. So what about if you have a small Laddu Gopal? Does he is he also merciful or like Varnitai, or does he take, like if you do something wrong, knowingly or unknowingly?
Yeah, so Laddu Gopal, you have to offer good food stuff to Laddu Gopal. Yes, Krishna and Laddu Gopal are also very merciful, but Gauranitai are most merciful. That's how we have to understand.
No, I understand that, but see, like I have one Laddu Gopal now. Like today, I've been out of the house since this morning, so I couldn't offer anything. So,
Okay, so when it comes to home deities, are your home deities officially installed like with a sthapana? Are they installed like they are installed in a temple?
No.
Yeah, so when it comes to home deities, the general understanding is that the one who's taking care of the deities in the home, they set the standard of worship. So you, according to your what you can do, you set the standard of your home deities, but at least you stick to that standard. Don't go below that standard. You set the standard and you maintain that standard, or better the standard, but don't come below the standard. At least that you should do for your home deity.
Okay, see, I try that, and most of the time I can do it. But just like when something happens where somebody's sick or I have to take them, like today. Now I haven't offered anything, but I haven't eaten anything either myself. So
yeah, so yeah, I understand. So what you can do is, when you have nothing to offer, you can cut some fruit and offer some water at least. And if you can't do even that, then you can mentally offer. Because in Kali Yuga, what devotional service we do mentally, that is also accepted. So mentally you can offer. That is one solution on the days when you cannot do.
Okay. See, Muse, for some reason, I don't know, I cannot do it mentally. I like it doing it physically and I do it. But my thing was, like, if I don't, like for today, I couldn't offer anything, right? So I will in the evening. So am I accumulating sins or?
Yeah, so exactly, that's what I'm saying. On the days that you cannot do physically, then you do it mentally, so that you're not taking any offenses. Not sins, but offenses.
Okay.
So it's only for those days of emergency, then you mentally do it.
Mataji, I hear from H.H. Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Can I
Yes.
explain with your permission?
Yes, Mataji.
That when we are sick or when we are traveling or family member, that time we can offer Sisi Laddu Gopal dry prasadam like badam, pista, akhrot, water, milk, then sugar, honey, like that. Fruits, banana and apple is in everybody's house, so we can offer that, and then only Sisi Laddu Gopal will happy by eating fruits and water and milk and dry fruits.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I said. No, you can cut when you cannot prepare something. At least you can cut some fruit, or as Vrinda Gopika Mataji said, you can offer some dry fruit. And if you cannot do anything at all, then last resort is to mentally offer.
Okay. But the one question that I'm trying to understand, like you said, Garnita is very merciful. So, and more merciful than Krishna. So when you say that, so Laddu Gopal, so they're more merciful than Laddu Gopal as well?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Gauranita is Sarva Shiromani, even more merciful than any other avatar, even Bal Gopal or Krishna or any other avatar. Sarva Shiromani.
Okay, so I have one small frame picture of Radha Krishna. So would that be considered, like you said, when you have the deities Radha Krishna, there are very rules and regulations. Would that be considered in that or not?
No, a picture, the rules and regulations of a photo is not as much as a deity. Deity is more, worship of a deity is higher than a picture.
Okay, and then someone told me they're also initiated. When I told them that I have Bal Gopal, they said that it's better if I get a small Radharani too. Is that like true? Is that necessary or?
Well, I have not heard this before. Bal Gopal is not worshipped normally with Srimati Radharani is what I have seen, from what I have seen. But I think you will have to ask a senior devotee on this.
Okay. And
Yes, Mataji, in Shishi Vallabhacharya Panth, from childhood we follow Vallabhacharya Panth, so they don't accept Shrimati Shishi Radharani, only Shishi Laddu Gopal, Shishi Radha Madammohan, and it's the temple called Haveli. But now they allowed Shrimati Shishi Radharani. So some temples with Srinathji Bhagwan, that is the Swarup of Laddu Gopal, Srinathji Dwarkadis, here is the Choti, that is Srimati Shishi Radharani, and in Mangla Arti there is Ananta Sesnag. So Shri means Srimati Shishi Radharani, Nath means Laddu Gopal, and that Mangla we can take a darshan of Ananta Sheshnag. So Krishna, Balram, and Srimati Shishi Radharani, all three are there. But before that, they are not accepting Srimati Shishi Radharani. That's why senior Vaishnava says we have a picture of Shishi Gaur Nitai.
Yeah, Gauranitai, worship of Gauranitai deities are the best.
so Mataji, let me ask you this. See, the deity I have from Bal Gopal. See, I have a desire to have Gaur Nitai and take care of them and all that. But at this time, I don't have. Everything I have is like either picture frame or paper. The only deity I have is a small Laddu Gopal, and I try my best, to cook for them and offer and everything. So, if we have God Nitai, can we keep Laddu Gopal as well, or it's
Yes,
one or
yes,
the other?
definitely. Yeah, yeah. I have deities of Gauranitai, and I also have deities of Sri Radha Krishna in my house. You can have no problem.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I forgot to mention that fearlessness, Srila Prabhupada explained the purport is more for the sannyasis. And Sattva Shamshu, the purification of one's existence, is also for the sannyasis, because for a sannyasi, there is no question of having these lusty desires because he's accepted sannyasi, he's in the renounced order of life. And also fearlessness is more for the sannyasis because a sannyasi is completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. He's all by himself. Yes, no, he's not having any source of income, and he has no family, physical, his immediate material family, wife, children. No, he has no support. So he's completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, Abhaya man, Sattva Shamshuddhi, Srila Prabhupada explains that is more for the sannyasis. Okay, after that, what is the next transcendental quality that Krishna mentions?
Jnana.
Yeah, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, cultivation of knowledge. This also Srila Prabhupada explains is for the sannyasis. Now it is the duty of the sannyasi to know the Shastra and also give the knowledge to others, especially the grihasthas, because it is the grihasthas who are very comfortably placed, more than the brahmachari, more than the vanaprastha, and more than the sannyasi. The grihastha is comfortably there in his house, he has an income and he's living with his family. So it's important that the grihasthas are also given Vedic knowledge. So what a sannyasi does is he goes from door to door and he begs. And when he begs from the grihasthas, he's actually doing a favor. It's not that they are beggars. They are actually very, very merciful. That's why they go and beg, so that the grihasthas, when they give to them, the grihasthas learn or are in the habit of giving. So they learn to not get attached, because let's say now there is something that is there for the sense gratification of the grihastha, and that which is for his own sense gratification he is giving away, right? So when he gives away, then he learns detachment, and he learns that it becomes a principle in his life to give. So therefore, and also these sannyasis, when they receive donation from the grihasthas, they also give some Vedic knowledge. They will give when they go from door to door. So like that, cultivation of knowledge is more for the sannyasis. Again, all these qualities are for all of us, but some of them are more specifically for a certain category. Okay. Next, what's the next quality?
Controlling the mind.
Before that,
No, sorry, charity.
charity, danam. So this is especially for the grihasthas. And Srila Prabhupada explains how charity should be in the mode of goodness, not in the mode of passion and ignorance. Charity in the mode of passion and ignorance is only a waste of time. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami, one of the direct disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he donated 50% of his wealth for Krishna conscious activities. 25% he kept for his family, and 25% he kept for any emergencies that may arise in the future. So Srila Prabhupada explains how one should give 50% to Krishna conscious activities at least. And then he says that, of course, he mentions charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, what is charity in the mode of goodness? When the charity is given to the right person at the right time and the right place, it is in the mode of goodness. When charity is given expecting something in return, that okay, my name should be published in a newspaper, the greatest donor of such and such a social project, or the statue of the greatest donor should be there outside the institution, and this statue is garlanded, something like that. So when charity is given expecting something in return, then it is charity in the mode of passion. And when the charity is given to the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time, then that is charity in the mode of ignorance. Now let's say somebody is giving charity to a person who's a drug addict. Now he's going to use the charity to purchase more drugs. So that is not the kind of charity that we want to give. Of course, when charity is given to a devotee, then it doesn't matter, or to the temple or to Krishna, it doesn't matter whether the time is auspicious or the place is auspicious. See, ideally, the ideal place or auspicious place to give charity is in a dham, in a holy place. And times, there are different times of the day which are auspicious, and certain times of the day are inauspicious. And certain days like Ekadasi days or festival days or end of the month, these are auspicious days to give charity also. But when, if let's say somebody wants to donate for a festival to the temple, for prasad distribution, or for the construction of a new temple project, then these are much higher than even the mode of goodness. Then it doesn't matter whether the day is auspicious or the time is auspicious, right? Because now that is in the transcendental mode. It's not, it's even higher than the mode of goodness. So charity is especially meant for the grihasthas, again, because it's the grihasthas only who are earning. The brahmachari is a student, he is not earning. Vanaprastha is retired, he is not earning. And sannyasi is renounced, so he is not earning. So it is only the grihasthas who are earning, and it is their duty to take care of the other three. Okay, what is the next quality?
Controlling the mind.
Controlling the mind, Dhamma. So this is also again for grihasthas, because the grihasthas, the man and the woman, they are living together, right? There may be a possibility that they unite for sense gratification. So we know that a man and woman can unite, and even the union, it can be a Krishna conscious activity when they have kids for Krishna consciousness. Couples should not see each other for sense gratification, but they should see each other as fellow souls, as partners in a spiritual journey. And in order to develop this particular attitude, it's very important that one can control the senses. Now, there is a letter Prabhupada wrote to one of his disciples. This disciple was about to get married, so he asked for permission, and he asked for Prabhupada's blessings for the marriage. And that time Prabhupada wrote to him this very nice letter. Let's read this letter.
You should always remember that wife is not a machine for sense gratification. Wife is your half body for nourishing your Krishna consciousness status. So you are getting a wife who is already trained up in Krishna consciousness, and if you live carefully and faithfully, there will be no difficulty. Srila Prabhupada, 10th March 1969.
So wife is your half body for Ardhangani, we say, no? So she's your half body for nourishing your Krishna consciousness status. Okay, let's go back to our, what is the next quality?
Performance of sacrifice.
Performance of sacrifice, yagyas. So this is also again for the grihasthas, because a fire yagya or the agnihotra, it requires material resources. So there is ghee and there are so many articles, and there it involves a cost. So fire yagyas, agnihotras, they require material resources, and therefore it is meant more for the grihasthas. Now, of course, in Kali Yuga, the best yagya is
Japa, Harinama, Japa,
exactly
Sankirtan.
Harinam Sankirtan Yagya. So Sankirtan Yagya is the best. Why? Because number one, it is most inexpensive. Number two, no qualification is required. Anyone can engage in Sankirtan Yagya. Anyone can chant the holy name. Even a small child can engage in chanting the holy name. When one has to do Agnihotra, then it requires qualified Brahmanas to do it. But for Sankirtan Yagya, no qualification is required. And the number one, the highest, the best reason is it gives you the highest benefit. Highest benefit, Sankirtan Yagya. Therefore, Sankirtan Yagya is the recommended process for the age of Kali. Okay, what's the next quality?
Study of Vedic literature.
Study of Vedic literature. So this is more for the brahmacharis. The brahmacharis are the students. And as we discussed, for the first 25 years, the brahmachari goes to the Gurukul and he gets trained up by the spiritual master. He renders service. He serves the teacher like a menial servant, irrespective of whether he's coming from a Brahmin family or whether he's coming from a royal family. They serve these children, they serve the spiritual master as menial servants. And not only are they taught Vedic literature, they are also made to practice celibacy. So there is no question of them uniting with a person of the opposite gender before they get married, because after brahmachari, then there is grihastha ashram, right? So they are trained up to practice celibacy, and they also study the Vedic literature. Now, when they are trained up like this, they deeply understand the Shastra. And then when they take to Grihastha life, if they get married and they take to Grihastha life, then they will not get entangled in materialistic life, because now they understand the purpose of human life is to realize God. So that's why study of Vedic literature. Okay, what is the next quality?
Austerity.
Austerity, tapa. So this is meant for the Vanaprasthas, because the Vanaprasthas, they have just led a Grihastha life. And when he enters his 51st year, now he is taking to Vanapras. So definitely now there are going to be some difficulties because he is leaving the comforts of his home, his family. So initially, definitely he's going to face difficulties, but still he voluntarily undertakes that austerity. He voluntarily undertakes the tapasya because he knows and he understands and he accepts that my focus is that I want to effectively practice spiritual life. In our case, how do we practice austerity? When we fast on festival days, when we fast on Ekadasi, we cannot take grains. Maybe we are out, maybe we have an invitation, but we practice this tapasya, we practice this austerity of not eating grains on Ekadasi or fasting on festival days, right? So we voluntarily undertake this tapasya. Without tapasya, we cannot get moksha. Why? Because if we are diseased, if we have a disease, then we have to take the medicine. Without taking the medicine, how are we going to recover our full health? So therefore, now we are materially diseased, and therefore we have to take the medicine. We have to do the tapasya to be able to be cured of our material disease. What's the next quality?
Simplicity.
Simplicity, archavam. So this is for everyone. Srila Prabhupada explains that we should be simple and straightforward in our dealings. What's the next quality?
Non-violence.
Non-violence, ahimsa. Srila Prabhupada explains that real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. Now, what do we mean by that? If someone is eating meat and an animal is killed so that this person's sense gratification can be fulfilled, the soul that is in the body of that animal, now he is progressing, right? He is going, he is transmigrating from one body to another body, and he has to live a certain period in that particular body. Let's say somebody is eating a chicken. So the soul that is in the body of the chicken has to live in the chicken's body for a certain period of time. And when that chicken is killed before time, then the soul again has to take birth in the body of a chicken to complete the remaining years in that particular body. So we are cutting the progression of the soul in his transmigration. It's like you're going at full speed and just suddenly somebody stops you. That is what is happening here. When one takes to meat eating and one is stopping one's progressive life in the transmigration from one body to another body. So that Srila Prabhupada explains is real ahimsa. Real non-violence is not checking the progressive life of another living entity. This is also meant for all the varnas and all the ashramas. What is the next quality?
Truthfulness, satyam.
Truthfulness, satyam. So Prabhupada explains that one should not distort the truth for one's own personal interest. So he explains about how Shastra is distorted. The Vedic literature, scriptures are people give their own interpretation of the Shastra to suit their own personal interest. So that Prabhupada says that one should not do. One should always present the absolute truth as it is. And that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has made so many devotees, because he presented the Shastra as it is. Prabhupada's Gita is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he has not distorted the absolute truth. And Prabhupada said that purity is the force. When anything is pure, automatically it appeals to our heart. No, automatically by default we like it. So because the Shastra was presented by Prabhupada without any misinterpretation, without him giving his own interpretation on the subject matter, therefore it is pure, and therefore it has appealed to the hearts of so many people, and therefore it has made so many devotees all over the world. Okay, what's the next?
Freedom from anger, krodha.
Freedom from
Akrodha.
anger.
Akrodha.
Akrodha, right? Akrodha, freedom from. Let us see. See, this statement by Srila Prabhupada he makes in the Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada says, one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situation. So if somebody provokes a person who's in the mode of goodness, then this person is not going to react, and that shows the greatness of the person. If we see case studies or histories from our Shastras, we will see that the Lord is always with the one who is tolerant. For example, Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad tolerated all the nonsense that his father did. He tried to kill him in so many different ways, isn't it? But Prahlad had firm faith and he simply tolerated. So we saw how Narsimha Dev personally came to save Prahlad. So the Lord is with the one who is tolerating. Can you identify the characters on the screen? One is a king and one is a sage.
The first picture or the second picture?
Second picture.
No, second picture.
It is of a king. Oh, what is his name again? Which
Ambarish, Ambarish.
Durvasa.
Yeah, King Ambarish.
Durvasa and Ambarish Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Durvasa and Ambarish. Shri also wrote in the chat. So we saw that how Durvasa, he created this demon and to kill Ambarish Maharaj, but Ambarish Maharaj tolerated it. So the Lord immediately sent his Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra killed the demon and then followed Durvasa Muni. Next, let's see the next. Can you identify now these characters? This is from the Mahabharata after the war.
Do you want to give us a hint?
Okay, the hint I already gave, Mahabharata after the war. Who can this lady be?
After the war, Mahabharata.
Draupadi?
Draupadi, yes, that's Draupadi, and she is saving whom?
She's saving that
She's-
property, that
Who killed her
property
sons?
those Panch Pandav bache.
She's saving her sons?
No, she's saving
He's
the Panch
saving the
Pandavas.
person who killed her sons.
Pandavas.
Yes, right, exactly. So she's saving Ashwadhama.
Ashwasthama. Yes,
yes,
Mataji. Thank you.
yes. So Ashwadhama killed Draupadi's 5 sons when they were sleeping. And then Ashwadhama was brought before the Pandavas. And even Krishna said that this person can be killed. And the decision was left to Draupadi. What does she want to do? So Draupadi said that, no, do not kill him. Why? Because she said that his mother has already lost. Ashwadhama's father died in the war. So she said that this noble lady has already lost her husband, and her only support system now is her son. And if you kill the son also, then she will be, without neither the husband nor the son. At least I have my husband with me, she said. The 5 Pandavas were alive, but in her case, then she will have neither the husband nor the son. So it was Draupadi who tolerated also the death of her 5 children. For a mother to see the death of her 5 children being brutally killed, that too in their sleep, right? But still she was ready to forgive. And who's this?
Chand Kazi and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chand Kazi.
Chand Kazi and Haridas and the Nityanand Prabhu.
Okay, no, Nityananda Prabhu is not here.
No, Haridas and Chand Kazi.
Okay, not Chand Kazi, actually, they are the...
हाँ, हरिदास को बीट मार्केट में बीट बहुत 21 मार्केट में मारा था, वो है उसके सेवक है किंग के.
Yes,
And they
exactly.
feel bad to do that seva.
Correct. So the Muslim ruler wanted Haridas Thakur to give up chanting the holy name. He was chanting 300,000 names of God every day. He was actually born in a Muslim family, but he has now become a Vaishnava. So the Muslim ruler wanted him to stop chanting the holy name, and he said that even if you cut my body into thousands of pieces, I will still not stop chanting. So then the ruler ordered that he should be beaten, mercilessly beaten in 21 marketplaces. So these are the king's messengers who are whipping him, beating him in 21 marketplaces. Now, of course, Haridas Thakur has the blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he was not feeling any pain and he did not die. Usually, if one is whipped like this, even in one place, that is enough to cause death. And finally, these people who are whipping him, they started to cry. They said that if you don't die, then we will be killed. So therefore, please die. So now Haridas Thakur takes pity on these people who are whipping him, and he fakes his death. And he acts as though he's a dead body. And then they think that he's dead and they throw him in the river. But then he goes to the other side of the river and he starts walking. So he faked his death so that out of mercy for these people who are whipping him. Okay, so you saw how the Lord is also with Haridas Thakur. But having said that, one may ask, how much am I going to tolerate? What about something big? Let's say in extreme situations, also I should tolerate, or are we going to draw a line somewhere? Let's read what Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport.
Don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.11.31 purport. There is a short story about a snake who became a devotee upon instruction by Narada, who instructed him not to bite anyone anymore. Since ordinarily a snake's business is to fatally bite other living entities, as a devotee he was forbidden to do so. Unfortunately, people took advantage of this non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children, who began to throw stones at him. He did not bite anyone, however, because it was the instruction of his spiritual master. After a while, when the snake met his spiritual master, Narada, he complained, I have given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities, but they are mistreating me by throwing stones at me. Upon hearing this, Narada Muni instructed him, don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood as if you were going to bite. Then they will go away. Similarly, a devotee is always non-violent. He is qualified with all good characteristics, but in the common world, when there is mischief made by others, he should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants.
So this is our message. Don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood as if you are going to bite.
So that would be called like spiritual anger.
Yes, spiritual anger. And also not ceased. When we spiritualize our anger, then we give the example of Hanuman, who used his anger in the service of Krishna. But when it comes to our own self, right? Now, if let's say there's something really very extreme, let's say there is some kind of a sexual abuse or a physical abuse, then are we going to just tolerate? Or let's say somebody has lost their life, some loved one has lost their life because of a medical negligence, then are we not going to sue the doctor or the hospital? So these are like extreme cases. What we are talking about here is what here Srila Prabhupada explains, that when let's say somebody insults us or talks curse words or finds fault with us, then we tolerate, then we do not react, because these are trivial matters. It does not matter for a devotee if somebody finds fault with a devotee. Okay, but when it comes to extreme cases, then yes, we have to expand our hoods. And spiritual anger is when we use the anger in the service of Krishna, like Hanuman did when he set fire to Lanka. Also, Arjuna, Prabhupada explained in the slide, Arjuna used his anger to fight the war and kill so many people because it was Krishna who wanted him to kill. So there also he has used his anger in the service of Krishna. And in our case also, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our bodies because we are using this body in the service of Krishna. So we have to protect our service also. That is also very important. So if there are extreme cases, then yes, we have to expand our food. Let's read this from Srila Prabhupada.
Anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. One who should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self, but when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger, cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in it was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka, but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of Lord Ramchandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjuna serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord. In the Nectar of Instruction, text 1.
So we should be ready to tolerate all insults to ourselves, but not tolerate the insults made to Krishna or his pure devotee. For example, if somebody is insulting a pure devotee of the Lord, or if somebody is insulting a spiritual master, or somebody is insulting Krishna himself, then we have to retaliate. One, we have to show our anger and not tolerate it. But if somebody is insulting us, then a devotee tolerates it. That's a transcendental quality. There is more on the subject matter. Let's read.
Anger. A devotee should not be angry, but that does not mean that he has lost his capacity of anger. No, everything is there. Just like a person does not have illicit sex, that does not mean that he has no sexual capacity. He has full sexual capacity, but he does not want to it unless it is required for certain purpose. That example is given, just like the tortoise. The tortoise, as soon as he likes, he opens his different limbs from the body, and as soon as he does not like, immediately winds within the body. So we should be like that. That is real control. So Vimanyavaha means that devotee does not generally become angry, but that does not mean that he has lost his power of becoming angry. No, he can become angry at any time when it is required, and he should be angry. And he should be angry. He is angry. Krodha bhakta dvasi janam. He'll be angry when there is somebody who is against God and God's devotee. He will be angry. As soon as one comes, blasphemes that I am God, there is no God, immediately he should be very angry because he's preaching false things. He's blaspheming against the supreme Lord, that he is making God as very cheap. He should be angry. Bhakta Dvesi. So we should be very much angry when there is anything against God and God's devotee. But generally, for my personal interest, I should not be angry. All right, if you like to call me by ill names, I don't mind. You go on with your business. I do not become angry. So just like Hanumanji, Vajrangi, he set fire. Vajrangi, he set fire in the kingdom of Ravana, a very beautiful kingdom, almost made up of gold. But he set fire in that capital of Lanka. He became very angry. But why he became angry? Not for his personal interest, but he was angry for the interest of Lord Rama. Sita, the Lakshmi wife of Lord Rama, was kidnapped by his man Ravana, by this man, sorry, Ravana, and he was very angry that he has kidnapped my Lord's spiritual energy, Sita. I shall set fire in his very valuable capital. So this demonstration of anger and setting fire was accepted as service. So we should know when to be angry, not that for our personal interest we shall be. Generally, those who are devotees, they are not angry. Srila Prabhupada's lecture in London on September 14, 1969.
Okay, so Prabhupada explains how we can spiritualize or use our anger in Krishna consciousness or use our anger in the service of the Lord. So just because a devotee generally does not get angry, it does not mean that he cannot get angry. Just like the snake, it's not that now the snake did not want to bite, because now the snake has received instructions from Narada Muni and is engaged in devotional service. But that doesn't mean that the snake has lost its capacity to bite. So when Narada Muni instructed him, then he said, yes, you show your fangs as if you are going to bite. So some examples here, we saw Hanuman used his anger in the service of Lord Ram. And here we saw how Narsimhadev has also got angry. Narsimhadev was so furious, he was so angry when he came and he killed Hiranyakashipu. He was so angry that all the devatas, including his own wife, Lakshmi Devi, was not able to go near him also to calm him down. They were so afraid to even approach him. Even Lakshmi Devi said that I cannot go near him because I have never seen my husband like this. But it was little Prahlad who then you can see he goes near Narsimhadev and he pacifies him. Then immediately Narsimhadev loses all his anger. And then in the story of Jagai and Madai, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very angry when Lord Nityananda was struck by Madai and Lord Nityananda was bleeding. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so angry that Nityananda was struck, so he invoked his Sudarshan Chakra. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, again, he is the most merciful, and this avatar is not meant for killing anyone. He has come to preach and give the holy name. But even he invoked his Sudarshan Chakra to kill Madai because he had struck Lord Nityananda. And of course, Arjuna also used his anger in the service of Lord Krishna. So a devotee cannot tolerate that the Lord and the Lord's devotees are blasphemed, and the Lord cannot tolerate when his devotees are troubled by anybody else. This is how the relationship between the Lord and the devotee works. Neither can tolerate anything against the other person. So we'll stop here, continue in the next class. Shri Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Shina Mata Ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Thank you, Mata Ji. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhavaya Vacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavaya Namo Namo. Thank you, Mata Ji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances.
Thank you, Mataji, for attending. So next week we will not have class because I have my home program. So I will see you all in 15 days from now. We have Shreya, the new bride. She just got married yesterday. So very
Radharani
happy.
ki jai ho. Congratulations.
So she,
Thank you, everyone.
Where's your marriage picture
Congratulations.
for us? Where's your marriage wedding picture for us? What did you wear? Did you wear a
I
sari
will
or lehenga?
send it now.
कहाँ गए श्रेया? Where are you?
No, it was just like a code wedding, so I was just in. I actually got married now to a mountain place, so yeah. So I'm in the car right now.
Are
We
we
are
going
going
to see
back.
who the special person is? Are we ever going to see a picture of you two? Cute
Yes,
couple?
I'll send you. I'll send the pictures in the group.
Congrats.
जय श्रील प्रभुपाद श्री गुरुदेव श्री राधा गोपीनाथ के ब्लेसिंग आपके साथ रहे,
Thank
किसी
you.
पंचतत्व के ब्लेसिंग आपके साथ रहे. हरि हरि गौरंगा. जय हो गोपीनाथ की.
okay.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So see you all in 2 weeks from now. I need to be going somewhere, so I take your leave. Please excuse me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.